You are listening to Any Given Sunday and I should say that too. You are listening and watching. I always forget about the YouTube part. You are
What up?
listening and watching Any Given Sunday for Sunday, May 22nd, 2022. I am your host, Manny Brown. Joined as always by my co-host, Josh Rodriguez. Josh, what is good?
Not much, man. How's everything going?
Oh, living the dream. Like I said offline, living the dream,
Nice. I
living the
too am
dream.
living the dream.
Of course, it's good to live the dream. We're healthy, somewhat. We're alive.
Somewhat.
My uncle used to say, "Every day above ground is a good day." So it's a good day. It's a good day. It's a good day. And plus, we're getting some spring/summer weather out here, so that's a good thing.
That's good.
It was hailing like 2 weeks ago. But
Jeez.
it is what it is. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I've accepted that the weather here is just going to be, what it is.
Everywhere.
Listen, when I move to Southern California in like 5 years, I'll never have to live through this life again. Well, I'll have to live through fires and earthquakes maybe and smog, but
Yeah.
you
You'll be
pick and
fine.
choose. You pick and choose your poison, I guess. What's good with you, man?
Not much, man. Really happy that I was right about the Warriors. Kind of disappointed in myself. Well, actually, kind of disappointed in the Celtics. But
We'll get to it. Get to it. The Celtics did everything possible, everything known to man to lose a game, like purposely. Like if I didn't know any better, I think they'd be point shaving. Like Jesus Christ. But yeah, let's get into it, man. Warriors are up 3-0. I wanted to come on tonight and really be filled with analysis and like a direct summary of what happened. I mean, honestly, are we really this surprised?
We're not.
People are shocked. People are like,
America is. I mean, if you listen to a lot of the pundits, there are people picking the Mavs to win the series, and a lot of people picking the Warriors. We're picking the Warriors in 6 or 7. My official pick was 6, just for the simple fact that I didn't trust the Warriors because they laid a couple eggs in the first 2 rounds. But I said on the show and I said on my podcast and I even said on Twitter, like if the Warriors seemed like they were the Warriors for the first 2 rounds, I would pick them in 4. So no, I'm not shocked, and I know you're not shocked either.
No, I'm really not shocked. I just think I said it last week, man. I think this is a bad matchup for Dallas. Everything Dallas is good at, Golden State's better, and Golden State has that championship medal and that experience, and Steph Curry's playing at a Steph Curry plus level. It's like I just don't really know what we really expected. I think people felt like coming off the Phoenix series, Dallas would game something, and play a little bit better. And that's the crazy thing. I don't think, besides the first game, I don't think Dallas has played terribly.
No, just
even tonight, did Dallas play bad?
No, Reggie didn't shoot the ball well. Outside of
him,
didn't
play well.
I don't think anyone really played that bad. No, it's just they got beat by a better team. If I'm just being honest,
it's just more experience. I said that, and a lot of this is also so you're getting a lot of differing points. Obviously, you're getting a lot of the anti-Warriors stuff, right? People just hate the Warriors and are tired of them. And then you're getting a lot of anti-Luka. So I'm in a group chat filled with people that just cannot stand Luka Doncic, right?
Oh, really? And I'm in a group chat that's the exact opposite. Nothing but love for Luka.
Oh no, I'm like the Luka sycophant by comparison, because I'm like, this dude is legit, and everybody just, oh fuck Luka. He's the Jack Harlow of NBA. Like what? Like really? Seriously? No, he's not. Stop it. Luka Doncic can actually play basketball. It's questionable on Jack Harlow, but yeah, it's interesting, right? Like the conversation coming from the series, like there's people already trying to write Luka's legacy, like, oh, he came up small. I'm like, he's 23.
23 years old.
He's 23,
39
running up against the dynasty. Like, this is like the best team of the modern NBA era. Like, stop it, please.
He had
like, this is LeBron in 07 versus the Spurs. Like, this is just.
How did he come up small? He had 40 points. What are people talking about?
Well, the whole legacy, like, oh, it was an empty 40 points. And people that I love and respect their basketball opinions. So it's not even like
we got to stop this as a country, not just as a basketball community. Like,
He's imploring you, stop this as a country.
We got to stop correlating an individual, a team result to an individual performance. Can we stop doing this? Basketball is a 5-on-5 game with people who come off the bench, with a head coach who's making decisions. Like this is idiotic to associate someone's legacy with how his team does, especially when this individual scored 40 points on nearly 50% shooting. It's dumb. And I'm saying that as someone who's not that huge of a Luka Doncic fan. Like, if you're hating on Luka today because of, how he played and didn't step up, you're not really watching the game. You're just here for narratives.
I agree. And listen, I'm not saying that I don't fall into the trappings of narratives, right? Because I did it last week with Chris Paul, right? I think it should be applied when it's merited, right? Like I think that you can make the case that Chris Paul hurt his legacy last week. You could make that case. Now, you could fight me off on it. You could say, you're totally off base.
Yeah.
And even last week, did that do much to harm what we already knew about Chris Paul? Like, he's a guy that, for whatever reason, has just come up short in a lot of. Part of it is injuries. I get it. Part of it is, he's just been unlucky to some degree. But the narrative or the fact or whatever is, he hasn't won a championship and he's only gotten to one conference final. Like, you can debate that.
Context to that, though, like, he hasn't got to a final because he pulled his hamstring up 3-2 against there are reasons for it. Like, there's a lot of context to that type of stuff.
True, but then, like, again, it's what I'm trying to say is that there's a place for having discussions about certain narratives, right? Like the James Harden narrative. That is a fair narrative critique, whatever you want to call it. This guy, for all the praise that he got, comes up repeatedly small in the biggest of moments. Like, you have to talk about that. Like, it has to be acknowledged. I don't think you could apply that narrative to Luka. Like,
right.
He's mismatched. Like, he's playing against a dynasty. Like, okay, maybe this is the supporting characters are different, but the core is intact. It's a dynasty. Like, it's still that same core.
The fact that Luka got his team to the Western Conference Finals does enough for his legacy, in my mind, or whatever his legacy.
Whatever you want to, yeah, exactly. I agree.
It was a team that I picked against the Mavs in the first round. I didn't expect them to be here.
Same. I didn't expect them to be here, and then I expected them to get drilled by the Suns, and it shows you how much I know, right?
Yeah.
Or both of us know. Like, I partake in the narrative talk too, because it is fun sometimes to.
No, it can be. I think
especially if you don't like somebody. I think narratives are good when you don't like a player and it supports the reason why you don't like them.
I think it's fair to have that discussion when there's a certain expectation, and I mean like a predetermined expectation, not like an expectation that what's the word I'm looking for, that changes with time. Like, for instance, there's an expectation that this series would be competitive, but before that, there was an expectation that, hey, let's just see if they can be competitive against the Suns, and they went past that. The expectation for the Mavs to start the season and start the playoffs was not the Western Conference Finals. They already surpassed expectations. But I think that once that first expectation is set, if that expectation isn't met, then you can have certain discussions. But if someone already surpassed the expectations, you can't knock them for anything they do past the point that they surpassed. It makes no sense. It's unfair.
I agree.
It's unfair.
I agree with you.
That sounded confusing in my head. I'm sorry if that confused.
No, I get your point. I totally agree with it.
Yeah.
If someone exceeds every possible expectation that you had for them, then I don't think you can say that they've.
It's just moving the goalpost. You're moving the goalpost 100 times.
Yeah, you are moving the goalpost.
And then when they finally can't score a goal, now you're like, oh, I see you.
So I can't speak for all of NBA Twitter. I could just speak for my cohorts at Dead End Sports who are unapologetically black and do not like. They don't. It's not that they dislike Luka Doncic, but their point is. They don't like that there is a media narrative around Luka Doncic and Jokic.
He's nice and he's white, and they're bitter.
And I feel like there's a conversation that can be had about that.
Yeah, there's absolute conversation. I think that's a lot of the Jokic hate comes from, if I'm being honest with you.
I think it does. I think that there is a sense with Jokic, it's like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now, listen, Jokic is a great player. How much of that is hype? But you can say that about any player, right? Like, you can say that every player gets overhyped to a certain
I agree
degree, right? Like, I like Jokic. Do I think he should have been the MVP? No.
Mhm.
Personally, I don't think he should have been the MVP. But does that make him overhyped? Like, I think he's a credible MVP candidate. You can have that conversation. Like, do white players somehow get over pushed from a media perspective
I
sometimes?
think it works both
Yeah.
ways. I think the media might overpush a white player, but then I also think there's a large portion of the NBA audience that underestimates or underrates, or there's backlash for it because of the
Yes.
overpushing.
Agreed.
So you have a media that overpushes them, and then you have a bunch of people who don't appreciate them because of the
Mhm.
overpushing. It's like this.
Yeah,
You have
it's this yo-yo effect, right?
yeah.
It's yeah. I listen, I think there's a conversation, and it's crazy that this is the context that we're talking about, not the actual game or whatever. But like, listen, they're up 3-0. There's not much to really talk about here. But no, I think it's only thing I can say about my guys is like they like Luka Doncic. They think he's a great player.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, he should be held because what they'll point to is like, watch, everybody will say Luka Doncic, poor Luka. He's going up against the Warriors. What do you want him to do? And then had this been, Jason Tatum. Oh, Jason Tatum choked. And it's
Mm.
like, okay, I get it.
But the
I'm
Celtics
not sure,
have higher
but I'm not
expectations than
sure
that.
that true. But I'm not sure that this you could apply it to this particular situation. I do think that I do think there's something there with the Jokic thing. But I've applied the Jokic thing more to NBA media is run by a lot of the people that permeate the NBA media. I'm not saying everybody, but a lot
Yeah.
of the people that permeate NBA media, at least the new age media, are a bunch of stat geeks, right?
Yeah.
And Jokic fills up a stat sheet like no other, right? So I think that that's like a lot of the love that he gets, right? It's like from a lot of the stat nerds out there that are like, "Oh my god, did you see what Jokic did? He did this, that, and the other." Like, "Oh, his
He's
plus
dwarfing
minus, he this."
crazy.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah,
I
I got
think
it.
that's part of the Jokic thing, right? Like it's like what Joey Votto in baseball, right? Like Joey Votto is like a baseball stat sheets
Love
love
Joey
affair. Like
Votto. Wait, people don't like Joey Votto in MLB circles?
I I I think Joey Votto's somewhat overrated, but that's just me.
Really?
But yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
The fact that Joey Votto's like finished top 5 in MVP like several years and he's only had like one 100 RBI season is a little confusing to me, but
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fair.
no, but I feel like I feel like you can say that Jokic gets a lot of love from a lot of the NBA
No, I
media
get it.
likes
I
because
understand that.
he's a
I'm a
stat
Derek
sheet
Jeter fan.
jumper.
I understand what analytics can do to someone's freaking narrative and
Well,
legacy.
you do realize that Derek Jeter's overrated, right?
I don't think Derek Jeter's overrated.
We've had this conversation before,
I
so I'm not even gonna go
listen.
there.
I've the thing with Derek Jeter that's so funny to me, so fascinating, is that analytics like don't just say that he's overrated. Like they say he's the worst shortstop ever to play the
He's not the worst shortstop. Like,
but
listen,
he's not
I can't stand Derek Jeter. He's not the
yeah.
worst shortstop of all
No,
time.
I know.
There's
But they
been
make it
plenty of
based
terrible
on certain
shortstops.
analytics, man, analytics make him like there was like times where he's like he's the worst shortstop in baseball. Like his gold gloves are a joke. Like everything. Like
His Gold Gloves are a little. I'm not gonna say they're a joke. They're a little perplexing.
there's one. The one he had later in his career was an absolute joke.
Oh, that was a joke. But the Gold Gloves Gold Glove voting in general can be a little perplexing sometimes. You just
Yeah.
like it's a popularity contest.
Yeah.
It's a reputation contest a lot of times.
All I know is I've seen Jeter make phenomenal game saving plays as a Yankee fan to win his championship.
Listen, Derek Jeter is a great player and a deservingly Hall of Famer, but a lot of people, especially New York media types, they just think of him like it's like literally in the pantheon of life. There's Jesus Christ, Martin Luther King, and like Derek Jeter slotted somewhere there. And it's like, dude, if he played in Kansas City, like he'd be like if he played in Milwaukee,
He's
he'd be
Craig
robbing.
Biggio.
He'd
He's Craig
be
Biggio.
robbing you. He'd be a better Craig Biggio. Like let's keep it a buck. Like let's be fair. Who was the best player on those '90s Yankees team?
Bernie Williams.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mariano Rivera, who was a reliever, to me was more important to the Yankees' success than Derek Jeter. Was he a factor? Yes. I'm not saying that. But like, could the Yankees have won the World Series with Mariano Duncan at short? Yes, they could have. Yes, they could have. You know that, Josh. They could have won.
In 96, yeah. I don't know about.
Now, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm being a little fair. I'm being a little unfair. Like 98, 99, 2000. Okay, he was a big part of those teams. In 96, they could have won that shit with anybody
Yeah.
at shortstop. Like, that's how good. Listen, Bernie was criminally underrated for a long time.
Like, it's
And
insulting to me that when they say core 4, like, they don't like, how is Bernie Williams?
They fucking put Jorge Posada. Like, what?
It's like that is so insulting.
That's an insult. Bernie Williams is such a better player than Jorge Posada. It's like, it's not even
Bernie
like
was there before Jorge. He was there before Andy
he was
Pettit.
there before all of them.
Every single one of them. Yeah, he was.
He was the original. He was the original.
He was there for every single World Series.
Yeah.
Up until 2009.
Yeah.
Like, come on. What a joke. What a joke.
I agree with you. Listen, we've gone way off the rails. That shows you how much interest this game garnered. Let's get it back to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, honestly, bro, I just don't think there's really much to talk about. Like, the Warriors are up 3-0. Yeah. At least you and I are in agreement that we're not really surprised. I guess we could be surprised. I guess I could be surprised that Dallas didn't figure out a way to win game 2. And that's where they lost the series. When you write the epitaph of this series, that's where they lost the series. When you have a 20-something point lead on the road in game 2,
yeah,
and the Warriors played as bad as they could play, and you played as well as you could play. I mean, I think they shot 70% from the field in that first half.
Yeah.
You got to win that game. I'm sorry. You have to figure out a way to win that game. And when you lose that game, that's the series. So the Mavericks lost that series in game 2, in the second half of game 2. So, I don't know what else is really there to say, but
there's not much to say, man. This Mavericks team overachieved. They're not supposed to be in the Western Conference Finals. Let's just be honest. Phoenix, I don't know if you want to say they choked, but they had their own version of a collapse. Last round, the Mavs got past them. Shout out to the Mavericks. I mean, you got to play the game and you got to, hit your shots and win. So shout out to Dallas for doing so. But you're going up against a team in the Warriors that was on pace to win 60 games if they were all healthy. You're clearly outmatched. And it has nothing to do with like Luka Doncic not having help. The simple fact is that the Warriors are just a better basketball team than the Dallas Mavericks. They have more men. They have more score. They have everything. They're just a better team. This is what's supposed to happen.
Agreed. Yeah. Let's talk about Steph Curry for a second.
Okay.
Remember when people were saying like, "Oh, Steph Curry couldn't carry a team," and
there's still people saying that.
There's still people saying the hate that Steph Curry gets. The hate that Steph Curry gets is like a little perplexing to me. It's beyond perplexing. It's maddening to me. Like,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
The guy plays the game the right way. You never hear anything negative about the guy. From everybody you talk to and hear, he's a great leader. He's a great face of a franchise type. I just don't get it. Like, I get like a lot of people blame him for the proliferation of the 3-point shot and how he changed basketball for the negative. And like, okay, I guess that's the one like fair critique you can apply to him. But I don't know. That's
he was so good that the game changed. Like,
I don't know if that's his fault. He found the skill and he specialized it and made it his own. And
now everybody wants to be him. How dare he?
Yeah, exactly. I even that one's a little perplexing, but I still kind of get it if you're a fan of like rough and tumble 80s and 90s basketball. That being said, I don't get this narrative that like he can't win on his own. First of all, he already won a championship on his own. Yeah. So, but people bring up but Matthew Dellavedova. Like, oh, okay. Like what? Oh, if Kyrie wouldn't have got hurt, like, okay, I agree that maybe if Kyrie plays in that game or plays in that series, we're having a different conversation. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I can also say that if Draymond doesn't get suspended in game 5, we're having a whole different
conversation. You could also make the case that game without KD.
You play that game anyway, right? You can play that game any way you want to play. I could also say Klay Thompson doesn't get hurt, KD doesn't get hurt. He'd have already his 4th. He'd be going for his 5th. Like, you could play that game any way you want to play. Listen, I just want to give this guy flowers because the man, you could argue he's playing the best basketball of his career right now.
It's up there. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen anything like 2016 Steph, but he's playing very well for sure.
He's not as dynamic, I'd say, as 2016. Yeah, but I feel like he's playing a little bit more controlled. I feel like the one critique I would have with Steph Curry sometimes is that he would like chase 3-pointers
too
much, and I feel like now you're seeing him attack more. You're seeing him not settle just for 3-point shots. Like, I feel like he's creating, like, if it's not there or if he's getting doubled or if the trap comes at any moment, he's already ready to attack. That's the difference in Steph Curry that I've seen. And maybe it's just age and maturity, and he realizes that, like, okay, everybody knows what I'm going to do, so I've got to switch it up a little bit. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I think you could argue he's playing the best basketball of his career, and
Yeah.
it's crazy to think about at
It's definitely
age
up there.
34.
It's more well-rounded, I would say.
Okay.
He's creating off the dribble a lot more. I mean, his off the ball gravity. I know a lot of people make fun of people who talk about his gravity, but it's a fact. His off the ball gravity does help a lot in getting people wide open. But you're seeing a lot in this series where he actually has the basketball, making plays, pocket passes, and setting people up as well, driving and kicking. And I think after the Grizzlies series, the Warriors were very sloppy, including Steph. They were very sloppy with the basketball. So I think going into this series, Steve Kerr made it a point, hey, let's take care of the basketball. And they're not doing a fantastic job at it, but they're doing a better job than they did against Memphis. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that your point guard and your leader of your team is doing a better job of taking care of the basketball. So he's definitely playing at a really high level. I don't know if it's the best I've seen him play, but it's definitely a more mature version than what I'm used to seeing him play, because a lot of the Warriors offense in the past was just kind of like freestyle, step back three here and there. And you don't really see that too often from Steph. He's usually he's taking threes if his feet are set, or if there's some rhythm going into the shot towards the basket. So it's a smarter version of Steph. It's cool to see.
Agreed. And I guess the one thing you could say from a Maverick perspective, I thought Kenny Smith said something really smart. I believe it was Friday night in Game 2, where Dallas was just on that huge slump from a 3-point shot, right? This is my issue with teams like Dallas and all these other teams that are kind of trying to replicate the Warriors' magic. They have no real plan B. And you could just see it, right? When those shots aren't falling, they're almost just sitting there with like this deer in a headlight. Like, what do we do?
Right.
No, go to the basket.
Right.
Create a shot for yourself. Do something. Like, they're just like, in a way, I kind of respect it, because Dallas has said, like, this is how we play. We're going to play this way and be damned with anybody else. But it's like, to me, you have to have a little bit more diversification of your style and your game, because it's like you get into, especially if you're a jump shooting team, because you guys know what's the old adage, right? You live by the dumb you live by the dumb shot, you die by the jump shot.
Yeah.
And it's like these teams that just get into these. I feel like the Jazz suffer from that. It's like when those threes aren't falling, it's like,
they suck.
Donnie, help us. Like, and it's like he doesn't have it going. It's good night, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Dallas. Like, they're just chucking. It's first of all, it's just bad basketball. Just bad, just IQ wise, it's just bad basketball. And then it's just boring to watch. I mean, you're just seeing clanging after clanging after clanging. I'm like, just take a mid-range shot. Go to the basket. I don't know. Do something.
Yeah, you don't have that. Even the way they create 3-pointers is a little different. The Warriors, they take a lot of threes, but a lot of it is, within the confines of their motion offense. Like, everything the Warriors do is in the confines of their offense. And that's what makes them so hard to beat, because, you have them taking threes and everyone wants to take threes. But what sets the Warriors apart is, to me, it's actually Draymond. You have someone who can get the ball and make plays for others when he has the ball at the top of the key. It's interesting. Draymond used to be a decent 3-point shooter. Like, now he's like, I don't know what's happened there. To me, that's what's stopping the Warriors from being like really freaking dominant, is like that Draymond when he first came into the league and actually could shoot 3 a little bit. But yeah, I think that's what they're missing. I think Draymond's kind of like that extra piece where it's like, okay, well, Steph's not going to get something off the dribble. Clay might not get something off the dribble. They're sticking with some motion offense. It's that extra ball handler at the top of the key who can set up a backdoor cut at the end of the shot clock, or hit Looney with an alley-oop off of something like that. That's what they're missing. Like, the Warriors have that extra gear that most teams don't have. The Suns kind of had it off of the pick and roll. It's a different offense. But outside the Suns, maybe the Celtics, but the Celtics are more like the Mavs, where it's like, give the ball to Jason or Jalen and see what happens.
Yeah. But going back to Kennedy Jet Smith, though, he said, like, when the Warriors threes are falling, they don't fall into that searching and hunting down for threes. They'll take a 2. They'll take it to the basket. They'll draw a foul. And that's what I respect about the Warriors. Even though they're the innovators of this new style of offense that we see in the NBA, they don't really fall into the trappings of like, oh, we're gonna just shoot threes. I mean, they have in the past. I'm not gonna sit here and lie completely. Like they have in
Yeah,
the past,
sometimes you get happy. I
but
mean,
but I think that you've seen a more diversified Warriors team where it's like, hey, if the threes aren't falling, let's take it to the basket. Like
right,
let's create it. Let's create a shot. Let's
right,
pass the ball 14 times and
right,
get a better or high percentage shot. So
right.
I think that's the I think that's the beauty of this Warriors team. And I listen, I agree with you on the Draymond thing. It's been weird how he's like diminished from a 3-point shot. But I actually like Draymond in the post. I actually feel like he's a better offensive player in the post than I think people really give him credit for. And I wish that he would be more in the post and they'd run more stuff for him down in the post because he's actually really good around the basket if
He's
you've
tough
ever
around the
watched him.
basket for sure. I mean, I don't think he has any go-to moves in the post,
But
but
he's
he's someone
big,
who
he's strong, and he's actually quick for his size.
he
I
can
think he
finish around
uses
the hoop.
his size
Yeah,
to his
he's not like
advantage.
a Dennis Rodman who's just gonna throw it at the hoop and hope it goes
No.
in. Like he can finish for sure.
No, he can finish. So
Yeah,
that's been the one disappointing thing about Draymond. People will say the 3-point shot, but I actually think like they should run more stuff for him in the post. Um, but hey, can't argue with success. They're one win away from the finals. So
yeah.
um, I guess Steve Kerr knows what he's doing way more than I do. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, I just honestly I don't know what else to really say about this. I guess the wrap up to this is: do the Warriors get it done on Tuesday night? Do they sweep them?
I don't think so. I actually think the Mavs get a game. I think the Mavs get a
Hmm.
game. I think they finish them off in California.
I actually think they're done. I
Yeah,
think looking at the Mavs body language, reading the press conference basically, and I know a lot of people on Twitter are like, Luka's mad about what Luka said at the press conference, basically saying, basically said he's an excuse maker. Oh, they're young. I actually think that's a very astute press conference that him and Jason Kidd like they're
like they
saying
gave up.
they're saying the quiet part out loud. What
They know
everybody
it's
is
over. They know it's
they
over.
know it's over and that
Yeah,
they're young. This is this is a young team that has never been here going up against a team that's what trying to go to their 8th final. Like
yeah,
it's like come on. Like we all know what's happening here.
yeah.
It's I don't know. But yeah, I actually think they get it done on Tuesday night. I think they sweep it. Plus I think the Warriors want at their advanced mileage. I think they want as much rest as possible. And I think Steve Kerr will be drilling that into them. They're like, hey, get it done so we can get Otto some rest for his poor foot. We got to get Andre back and we can get GP the second or junior.
I
As
think
much rest
he's
as
going to be
possible.
huge.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially if they play a team like the Heat.
Yeah. I agree.
Yep.
I agree. All right. Well, moving on to game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals on Saturday night. Man, the Celtics. This is why you can't truly trust the Celtics, man. I just they're so perplexing to me to watch. It's like
Yeah.
games where you watch them and they look like the best team in basketball, and then other games you're just like,
What the hell was that?
what happened here? Like,
Yeah.
it's so maddening to watch that team, man. I feel like the Celtics. Listen, I'm not gonna take away from the Heat. The Heat absolutely won that game, stole that game.
I don't say stole.
But
They outright just took it. Like
they
that
took
wasn't.
that game,
Yeah.
but god damn it. The Celtics left their windows on their new Lexus open. They basically left the door half open. Like they did everything possible to basically let Miami take that game away from them.
Right. Right.
It's how do you come out in a game 3 after a big road win too? Like after a big dominating, convincing road win. Me and you were joking about it on Wednesday night or on Thursday night, and for them to come out as flat as they came out in that first half, basically just no clue from an offensive perspective, turning the ball over. That's the other thing. I mean, people talk about the Warriors. I mean, the Celtics. I mean, how many turnovers did they have in that game?
I'll look it up, but it was bad.
It was bad, and it's not even just the amount of turnovers, but the costly, dumb turnovers that lead to points. Yeah, that was one of the worst games I've seen a home team play on their court. Not even from the standpoint of the score, just how just nonsensical they played.
23 turnovers.
23 turnovers, and it felt like more. That's the crazy part. It felt
23
like more.
23 to 8. The fact that they lost the game by 6, losing the turnover battle 23 to 8 is actually pretty remarkable.
And remember, this was with Jimmy Butler getting basically not coming back in the game in the second half. Like,
Yep.
Miami's undisputed, clear best player.
Miami had 19 steals.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, the stats speak for themselves, right? Like, yeah. I break it down, man. I don't know what else to say about that one.
So I'm gonna shout us out because on my podcast, The Dime, we both mentioned how we think that this Heat team would benefit greatly from a healthy Kyle Lowry, and I think off the bat, you saw that they were pushing the basketball with him. The pace sped up enormously with Kyle Lowry on the court, and they were getting open shots. They just seemed a lot more crisp than honestly than they've been all playoffs, even in games that they've won. So I think that was huge. And then also like on that side of the ball too, just staying there, like getting Bam Adebayo involved, and not only like getting him in isolations in the post, but also running action with him as the primary ball handler making plays. They ran their offense through Bam in the first half for the most part, and they benefited greatly from it. I mean, he was shut out, the first 2 games of the series, but a large part was because he wasn't really touching the basketball. They weren't giving him the ball. And then when he did get the ball, he wasn't getting in spots where he can do anything. So I think Spoelstra made that adjustment. That's why he's one of the best coaches in the league, if not the best coach in the league. Having Kyle back, like I said, was huge. But from the Celtics standpoint, man, it's just sometimes like you can't just like break it down and be like, well, they played bad because they were just awful. Like there's just low energy. They came out, got punched in the mouth, and just didn't punch back. Jason Tatum, was not aggressive at all in the first half, if I'm going to be honest with you. They just didn't look like themselves. And the Heat came ready to play the game. And sometimes it's that simple. Like they got punched in the mouth and they didn't respond, which was weird to see because it was a home game. And in Boston probably has the best home court in the East out of the teams that are in the playoffs, at least. It's just disappointing.
Yeah, I actually missed the first half of that game, and I was just surprised at the score when I looked at it. I was like, "What is going on?" Like, listen, I'm gonna stop disrespecting this Miami team. They showed me something on Saturday night, man. They were prepared to play. They took that game. They took it to the Celtics. And listen, that game's on Udoka. I mean, listen, we both have praised Udoka, but that, hey, you got to give me a better effort than that. I mean, that's a game 3 in your building, 1-1. Again, this isn't coming off a loss either. This is coming off a near 40-point blowout victory in game 2.
Right.
I mean, you got Miami fans leaving the building and like with 9 minutes to go in the third quarter, essentially. Like, I didn't understand the effort there from the Celtics. But that being said, though, I think what more than anything, what you learned in game 3 is I think this series is going 7. I think this series has legs in it, and both of us disagreed with that. So that's a change from our part, right? Or at least from my part. I think the series is going 7. It just smells like a 7-game series. It smells like a physical, tough, bruising 7-game series. At least 6 for sure.
Oh, 6 for sure.
For sure.
I expect Boston to come out in game 4 and win. I'll be shocked, absolutely floored if Boston doesn't win tomorrow.
Yeah, they're going to win tomorrow.
Floored.
I'm not. Listen. I can't guarantee that they're going to win tomorrow because it is Boston, and they have. Me and my history with the Celtics. First of all, I can't stand them. But number 2, the times that I have picked them, they've completely fallen flat on their face. So who knows? Honestly, but yeah, I agree with you. I think all signs point to them winning. Tomorrow night. But who knows? Who knows? This Miami team is tough. Listen, it depends on Jimmy Butler. Depends on Jimmy Butler too. His health. And you know who was big in that game too? Victor Oladipo. He didn't score a lot of points, but he's like, he's a presence.
Yeah.
I believe in basketball. It's similar to baseball. It's like you just got guys that just have a presence to them, right? And Oladipo's a guy that you just can't sag off of. You can't just leave that guy alone. He's a wily vet. He obviously is not what he used to be, but he's still a guy that can get you a bucket. He can create his own shot. I think Oladipo had a big impact in that game. And Miami just figured. I respect that Miami team, man. They've grown on me. Listen, I still don't think they're the greatest team in the world, but You know, they've got a lot of resource, and they're just a wily veteran team.
When they're completely healthy, they're a different team. It's just
Yeah.
we've rarely seen them completely healthy. When Kyle Lowry's on the court pushing the basketball like he did, making plays, getting out in front of the Celtics defense, whatever defense they're playing. When Victor Oladipo's healthy and you can put him on defensively, on a guard defensively on the other end, they're a completely different team. I still kind of worry about them in the half court. You know, going through Bam last game was a great adjustment by Spo. But Bam is not someone who I think you can give the ball to every game and expect the offense to run fluidly through him. I
Agreed.
think you have to get Jimmy running some offense a little bit, and you got to do other things as well. I just think it worked out last game because, you know, the Celtics haven't seen it, and, you know, Bam was itching to have a good game. They still kind of concern me in the half court. But yeah, they're I mean, outside of that, man, they
tend to go to offensive droughts too.
Yeah.
But you saw it even Saturday night. You saw it, right, where the Celtics had a chance to really come back and take that game for as badly as they played, and Miami just went through a stretch there where just couldn't put the ball in the ocean. But
yeah, and because without Jimmy, you don't have anyone to really make plays off the dribble in the half court. Like Victor kind of can, Kyle kind of can, Bam could make some plays, you know, through the offense a little bit, but you don't have someone you can give the ball to and like, hey, make something happen. If not for you, for someone else.
I mean, Kyle Lowry and Victor Oladipo at one point could. I don't know if now they're not that guys. Right. Yeah, I agree with you. Listen, I think the one thing we did learn as basketball fans watching on Saturday night is I think this series definitely has legs to it. You know, and that's a correction on my part. I think I picked the Celtics in 5.
Yeah, I had them in 6, but I was like, it was like a disrespect.
I think we both picked them in 6. But we weren't.
It was
we
a
would have been
surprised. Like, I want to take them in 5, but I'm going to take them in 6.
Yeah, I agree. So I stand corrected. I think the Celtics and the Heat are in a dogfight now. And
Game 7 next Sunday. If there is a Game 7, we'd be doing it after directly Game 7.
Yeah, so that, you know, hey, yeah, let's root for a Game 7, right? So yeah, we'll see what happens. But definitely, this series for sure, at the very least, has some legs to it. And I'm interested to see what adjustments Udoka makes in Game 4.
You got to imagine Jason Tatum's going to get involved more. Some plays for him early on, some sets for him early on.
I don't know why they don't have him play the point forward position. I said it last week. I'm like, they're actually better when he's actually, I mean, obviously they're better when him scoring 40 points a game like he's capable of, but I actually think they're better when he's actually in that playmaking role, and he's, because Marcus Smart is not really a point guard. No, he's not at all. I don't think I'm breaking any news here. No. But you know, so he's masquerading as a point. He's a 2 masquerading as a 1. But you know, I think that's why they should at least allow Tatum to bring the ball up, make some plays, create, especially in the first half when he's kind of still trying to get his teammates involved. Definitely have him be the primary ball handler, primary playmaker. I don't understand why they haven't made that adjustment. But exactly. World's worst kept secret. You know, right? Biden has Alzheimer's. Marcus Smart is not a point guard. That was an unfair cheap shot at the president. But yeah, I'm interested to see what Udoka does from an adjustment standpoint in Game 4. So it'll be an interesting matchup there as far as wits. 2 young, well, I should say, you know, Spoelstra's young, age-wise. He's not young as far as tenure, but 2 of the best coaches, I think, in basketball as far as just.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Udoka still has a lot to prove. He still has a lot to prove.
True.
But he's definitely had a good first year.
Yeah, absolutely. So you agree with me?
7.
We're looking at
I'm still taking the Celtics, though. I think the Celtics are still the better team.
Yeah, I agree. I would not be surprised if the Celtics stole a Game 7 in Miami. Would not be surprised.
Same.
Plus, and can we talk about how bad Miami? I hate watching basketball there. Like,
I went to a game there, man.
Even the LeBron years, it just always felt so. Well, it feels like watching basketball in a mall.
Yeah, the Bron years, it felt like people were there like for an award show. It didn't feel like they were fans. Like, you get what I'm saying? It was just kind of like the thing to do. It wasn't like we were
Yeah.
fans. But yeah, that's a mall. That's actually a good
You ever
comparison.
been to like that the ritzy mall in town,
Yeah,
like the high price? That like that's the fuck it feels like watching the game there. Like
yeah,
it's like it feels like it's just a bunch of Miami snobs watch. Oh, like hey, honey, look, it's a basketball game.
right.
Negroes were playing.
Just got off their boat.
Right? No, it's just so weird. Like I hate the environment in there. So just blah. Um, but yeah, I game 7 next Sunday night. That's for sure. I definitely see it happening. Let's move on. I don't know how tapped in you were. This is your team. But I don't know how tapped in you were this past weekend to Yankees White Sox
I know the
and
answer.
the Jackie Gate. I'm going to call it Jackie Gate, Jackie Robinson Gate, whatever you want to call it. The little kerfuffle between Tim Anderson and Josh Donaldson. I won't bore everybody with all of the details, but obviously the bench is cleared. That was one of the big news items of the weekend. Bench is cleared. White Sox, Yankees. Josh Donaldson and Tim Anderson were at the forefront of it. And basically, this is something that's been going on over the last week or so. They had a little bit of a scuffle in Chicago when they played last weekend. So obviously, pleasantries carried over into this game or this series this weekend. And it all seems to have stemmed from Josh Donaldson trolling, or he says he was trolling, whatever. He basically called Tim Anderson Jackie, to which Tim Anderson took offense to. I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I'll let you fire off first. You're the Yankee fan.
I'm interested to see what your thoughts are. So my thoughts are, I think Josh
I can
Donaldson's
start first if you want me to start.
No, I think Donaldson's a dick. I think your thoughts are gonna be way more nuanced than mine, just because I think you've been following it more. I know of the situation vaguely. I know of the play they got into in Chicago at third base. Like I know that. Um, I know there's other things like, Tim Anderson has some comments before comparing himself to Jackie Robinson, and that's what Josh said he was referring to. To me, you still have to be socially aware enough to know that you just don't call a black man Jackie. you don't taunt him after the first Major League Baseball player to ever Black American baseball player to ever play in sport in the league. That has racial undertones. I don't care what he says. I don't care how you justify it. You don't do it. I'm a Yankee fan, but I totally do not support Josh Donaldson and his decision to call him Jackie or anything. Honestly, if I was on the Yankees, like in that situation, I know it's easy for me to say since I'm not playing the sport. I'm not sticking up for Josh Donaldson. I'm not saying anything in the media, and I'm not going out there to defend him if there is a brawl. To me, whether or not he meant it to be racist, it was racist, and it had racial undertones to it, and I think it's unacceptable. So, in short, that's what I'm thinking, and that's how I feel at least. It's just inexcusable to me.
100%. You said everything I said.
Yep.
Or was going to say. Yeah, Josh Donaldson is a douche. He's been that way. I mean, listen, he's one of those douches that you love if he's on your team. He's those irritants that like every team, every sport has.
But I didn't like him. No one, Yankee fans didn't like him. I don't even know if they like him now.
He's only been there for like 2 weeks.
Like Garrett Cole had a problem with him. Like we have a picture on the team who like our ace fucking hated him before he applied.
Yeah. Listen, he's one of those guys that you love if he wears your uniform because he's a dirtbag type of guy. He's gritty. He's a warrior. He's a competitor. And listen, I'll never take anything away from Donaldson. He's a hell of a player.
Yeah,
but he's a former MVP, so it's not some slouch. This isn't some guy off the street,
right?
But he's been a douche for a long time, and it's always something with him. There's always something with him. He's chirping at this team. He's chirping at that team. He hates this guy. He's calling out Garrett Cole. He's doing it. Josh Donaldson does a lot of talking for a guy that can't play more than 140 games. Can we? How about Josh Donaldson worry about playing a full season? It's been a long time since he's done that.
Yeah.
Be that as it may. Yeah, what he said was, first of all, was corny. Hey, Jackie, like, okay, from as far as the annals and the pantheons of shit talking, it was kind of corny. Number one. Number two, like, you have to have enough self-awareness in 2022 to understand that, like, even if you don't mean for it to come, and I don't think he's a racist. I'm not gonna say
I don't think he meant it. I don't think he meant it in a racist way, or he is a racist. But you have to be aware enough to know. Like, I don't care that Tim Anderson compared himself to Jackie Robinson. You know what you're doing. You know what that does by calling him
Exactly.
Jackie. Period.
Exactly. You know
Period.
what that does.
Come
Absolutely.
on,
That's
like
like calling a
stop.
Mexican. That's like calling a Mexican. Hey, Julio Cesar Chavez. Hey,
Right. Like,
Chavez. Like, you know
yeah,
what that,
you
you
just don't
know,
do
you know
that.
what you're trying to do there. So
Yeah.
miss me with the excuses. Now, do I think he's a racist? No, I don't. But do I think he
Right.
said something racist? And do I think that he meant to, I think he meant it as a troll, but
Right.
I don't think he understood, or I don't think he was smart enough or sophisticated enough to understand that, like, yo, this ain't it, bro. Like, leave that one
Right.
in the chamber.
Right.
Um, yeah, and I don't know if you've seen what Aaron Boone said about him, but Aaron Boone basically did not defend him. Like,
No,
Aaron
I saw
Boone,
what LaRussa said. I didn't see what Boone said.
yeah, Aaron Boone. I'll see if I can find it before we'll move on. But Aaron Boone basically did not defend him.
Good.
You know, they basically, I mean, he in the most Aaron Boone of ways, right? He basically talked around it, but Aaron Boone was pretty adamant about it. Like, hey, like you just don't use, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he's like, hey, you don't use Jackie Robinson as an insult ever. I'm
Period.
sorry. That's that's like using MOK as an insult. Like,
Yeah.
you're just not doing that. Like, we're not doing
Yeah.
it here. You know. And listen, I know. And listen, Tim Anderson isn't exactly a day at the beach either. I get
I
it.
mean,
I understand. Tim Anderson has his issues as well, but I think Tim Anderson is just one of those guys that he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He plays with a lot of fire and intensity, and he's a
yeah.
guy that wants to make the game fun, and that's why I appreciate him. I think he's a guy that's like, yo, I'm not trying to be the corporate buttoned up black dude that plays baseball. It's like, no,
Right.
I want to have fun. I want to do what the dudes in the NBA do, that fire up the crowd and do, taunt and antics or whatever. And somehow they don't offend America, but somehow a baseball player, oh, how dare you? It's
Right.
like, so I get it. Yeah. I listen,
You could have came
Donaldson.
Josh. Yeah, he could have came at Tim Anderson another way. Like you can go
That's why I
at
said it was
him.
corny. That's what it was like,
Yeah.
it's just corny. Forget that it was offensive, which, yes,
Yeah.
it was offensive, but it was just corny. Like, what? Like, what are you
Right.
doing? Like, what are you trying to do
how did
here?
that formulate in your brain as an insult? Like that's where I'm thinking. I'm like,
Yeah, which leaves a lot to be desired, and also makes you
yeah,
question, like, oh, okay, what else have you thought of or said?
right,
Again, I don't want to call the guy a racist. I've never met him. I've never had a conversation with him. I've never interacted with him.
right.
I don't know any other black people that have interacted with him, so I'm not going to sit here in my little corner of the world and say Josh Donaldson is a racist. But what he said was racist, can
Right.
be misconstrued as racist, or
He
was
could have not
racist
meant it.
racist adjacent.
Right. He could
at,
have not
at
meant it in
least,
that way, but to me,
right,
it still speaks of the larger issue of like
right,
people comfortable saying racist shit, not
exactly,
knowing that it might be racist, or
right.
or like to me, I just have a hard time believing that he didn't know when he said it what the ramifications of him saying that to Tim Anderson were, and how that would make Tim feel. And any
Yeah.
black baseball player feel, regardless of what Tim Anderson has said, comparing himself to Jackie in the past. That is, I saw one show here. It was like a local Los Angeles channel with, it was
Mhm.
an all white panel, and they were just basically like, well, he did call himself Jackie Robinson. Maybe Josh was just kind of like, no, like stop. Like you don't,
Right.
there's undertones to it. It wasn't said publicly. Like it wasn't like Josh Donaldson went to the media and called him Jackie. So it wasn't like a dog whistle to like racists
Mhm.
out there, because he probably didn't know that it would get out there that he said it. But it seemed very calculated. It seemed planned, and it seemed like it was something he thought of before he even called him that. Because my first reaction, if I'm going to call someone something, if they upset me right away, it's not that. It's like, oh, you
Yeah.
asshole, or you
Yeah.
there's like go-to words before, oh, Jackie is thought out and calculated. That's a thought out, calculated um diss from Josh. And yeah, you're right. He may not be racist, but that comment and that diss definitely had some racial undertones to it, whether he meant it or not.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm trying to find the Boone comments here.
I'll see if I can find it.
As we talk. Yeah, I'm finding it here. I'm looking at the Daily News. Basically, when asked about the situation, he said, "We're trying to do as much as we can to diffuse it and just to play ball." Boone said on Sunday, "I talked with JD, Josh Donaldson, and a few other players to address this and to get to the bottom of it. and get the context and the history of this and what's been going on between the two players and the two teams over the last week or two. I certainly understand why that would be sensitive. And then, of course, it goes on to Boone has made it clear that he does not support his third baseman calling a black player Jackie, even if it was meant as some sort of a strange joke. I don't believe there was malicious intent in that regard, Boone said. This is just somewhere that, in my opinion, he should not be going. I understand the reaction, but Josh has been very forthcoming about the history of it and the context of it, Boone said. And yada, yada, yada. Okay, yeah. So when I first heard the name Jackie, I was really taken aback, Boone stated. Frankly, I was upset about it myself. When you hear the story of it, and again, I don't think Donaldson should say that, or even if there's a perceived relationship or whatever, but the original story of it was born out of in a few years saying and is less taken aback by it at that point. I sit here as a white guy, and then he goes on rambling about shit, blah, blah, blah. So his manager basically, listen, Boone didn't defend him. Boone didn't exactly, he didn't rip him, but he didn't defend him. He didn't praise him. He said, hey, that's not an area you should be going. Right. If Aaron Boone has enough sensibilities to say, yeah, I'm a white dude, and I don't think you should be saying that, why didn't Josh Donaldson have that sensibility?
I'm reading here that Yankee fans were calling Tim Jackie today, which is...
And I wanted to get to that because Yankee fans are a special kind. First of all, and I'm not going to label every Yankee fan. Of course, there were 40-something thousand people in that damn stadium. I'm not going to say all 40,000 are racist and we're all chanting Jack. No, but Yankee fans, and I'm talking to you because you're a Yankee fan. Yankee fans know that other Yankee fans can be cartoonishly moronic sometimes to a fault. I'm not breaking any news here on that either. This is the thing, man. This is a sensitive situation and a sensitive topic. And for you guys to be making light of that because you support your team is just bullshit to me. I'm sorry. It's just disappointing. I'm not saying you have to give him a standing ovation, but don't call him Jackie. Don't do the thing that literally your manager said, yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Oh, and by the way, genius Yankee fans, bleacher creatures, your best player is black. Don't you think you kind of pissed him off too? Your two best players are black.
Yeah.
Or at least half.
Why
do you sometimes I just wonder, are fans just that inebriated at sporting events that just don't?
I don't think they think, man. It's not to excuse them, but
no.
I'm someone I'm Puerto Rican, and sometimes I don't live the black experience because my skin is I'm fairly light. Mm-hmm. I do pass for mixed. I do get it every once in a while. But from my point of view, it just seems like some people are trying to find a way to say the N-word to black people. And at that time, saying Jackie was just that's what it feels like, man. Because it's always the same people with the same beliefs and the same, political thought. It's the same fucking people, man. It's just disgusting. I'm just learning this now that the Yankee fans said that.
Yeah. And I didn't even know that. So yeah, I didn't.
And
even
I know it wasn't all the Yankee fans.
I know they were booing. I didn't know the Jackie. I didn't know they were chanting Jackie.
Yeah,
I didn't watch the game.
Yeah, I have a feeling I know what kind of Yankee fan this was.
It doesn't take much to guess. Yeah. No, listen, man, it's there's no more excuses for ignorance. I'm sorry, we're in 2022. You have information at your fingertips. You literally have an app on your phone, or most people do, or can download an app on your phone called Google. You have information at your fingertips. You know what should be said and should be said. And I know people will say, well, really, is that the political climate that we want to live in? Is that the world we live in now where you can't even just make a innocuous joke? Or yes, because these things have a history. And again, I just said, Josh Donaldson, I don't think Josh Donaldson was trying to be racist. I don't think Josh Donaldson on his off days goes to Klan rallies. I'm not saying that. I'm not intuiting that in the slightest bit. But we have to start holding people accountable for saying dumb shit.
Right.
And I don't think he should lose his job. I don't think the Yankees should cut him. No, I'm not going that far either because I'm not an advocate for that. But I think he should be raked over the coals for it. Like, I think he should face some heat for that. And
Yeah,
he
I
should
agree.
have to answer questions about it. Like, yo, well, do you consider all black players Jackie? Would you call, you know, Giancarlo Stanton Jackie? Would you call Aaron Judge Jackie? Have you
Well,
called your other teammates?
he would
Like,
just use the excuse that Tim Anderson referred to himself
right,
as a
right,
judge.
right.
Like, that's an easy out. But I think anybody that's the thing. Like, I feel like we're arguing with people or we're having discussions with people who aren't coming from an intellectually honest standpoint. Like,
Mhm.
what you're doing. You know what I mean? Even the people defending Donaldson, like,
Yeah.
the weight of Jackie Robinson, what he means to black baseball players, regardless of what Tim Anderson has said about himself. You just don't do that. Period. You don't do that.
Mhm.
Like, that's a
And
lesson. Like, that's a concept that a third grader can grasp. And we have grown men chanting Jackie at a freaking baseball player.
right. Well, listen, listen, the Yankee fans are just, again, not all of them, but the Yankee fans that tend to do these kind of things. Let's just put
Yeah.
it that way. And again, this is a fan base that got in trouble a month ago almost for fucking throwing shit at Indian or Guardians players. Like, so there's a history here, obviously, and this is, I mean, I can at nauseum give you chapter and verse about Yankee fans and listen, I'm a Met fan, and we aren't exactly Mother Teresa either.
It's
But
New
you
York sports
only
fans,
ever
man.
hear that, but you hear a lot more of this shit
From Yankees
on the Yankee side and the Yankee
Yeah,
fans.
you do.
Like,
You do.
you do.
Yeah, you do.
Listen, so I'm not even focused on that.
That's because Staten Island, the borough of Staten Island likes the Yankees. That's why.
Oh yeah, what Staten Island is. It might as well be Alabama from a New York perspective.
I'm telling you, that's the reason. Like those. I would like bet my money that the people chanting Jackie were from Staten Island or New Jersey. Bet my money.
Hey, I'm not even going to argue that with you. I'm not even going to argue that with you. But no, my issue isn't even with them because again, they're low hanging fruit. They're idiots.
Yeah.
But the Josh Donaldsons of the world, and again, I want to reiterate, I don't think Josh Donaldson was purposely trying to be racist, but he said some racist shit, and this is a teachable moment for him. And I want to see how he handles this. I don't know if he's called and personally apologized to Tim Anderson, I should say. I don't know if they've had a personal power. I don't know. So I'm putting that out there as I don't know. But this is a moment like I would feel so mortified. And again, I know sometimes when media people like myself, I mean, we consider ourselves media, but we talk about and describe these things. We always paint it as people will say, or critics will say, you always paint it as you're holier than thou. No, I've said dumb shit before. I've made stupid ass comments.
Yeah.
And I feel mortified after. Like I think back to, I mean, my Twitter is filled with shit that I've said as an idiot 21-year-old.
No one's
right?
innocent of that.
And I cringe at it. I cringe at it. But it's not even so much about what you say, but like how your behavior changes over time, how your mind expands over time. And you don't show a history of that ever again. And can say, like, listen, I used to be a douche at 21, but now I've learned, I've lived experience. I'm 35 with 2 girls, and like, you grow and you mature. So hopefully Josh Donaldson takes this situation and learns from it. Hopefully he's called Tim Anderson. He's like, yo, man, my bad. That was never my intention. Like, let's meet, let's talk. Cause I would want to talk to that man face to face and be like, yo, that's not my intent. That's not what I'm about. That's not what I represent. Yada, yada. And maybe he has. I don't know that. But yeah, this is and this is not the kind of controversy that you want coming out of your club. I mean, I haven't seen Judge's comments on it. I haven't seen Stan's comments on it, but I'd be interested to see how they feel about this.
Yeah,
I'd be very interested.
Too. I mean, I don't know, Josh. Like, and they do. Sometimes you want to give a pass to someone who and their heart isn't racist and maybe just made a mistake or just at the time just uncharacteristically said something or just miscalculated something that he thought would be okay. I don't know. But it is disheartening, man. As a Yankee fan, especially when it comes from your team, it shit sucks, man. I'm not gonna lie.
And this is another thing too. It's like we can't excuse this as passion, as that's what makes them the best fans in the sport. Because it's like no, there's a lot of great fan bases that aren't doing this shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They just are. And like, if you're a Yankee fan right now and you're saying, "Oh, what the fuck do you guys know? Blah blah blah. You guys are being pansies or whatever." No, look at yourself in your mirror. You sound like an archaic dinosaur. Go back to 1970 and deal with your shit. Like, go through therapy or some shit. Like, if you can't understand why this is a problem in any era, in any decade, in any time, then there's nothing to really talk about. Like, this is a problem. Like, yo, you on top of the fact that you have two prominent black players on your team, no one thought, we don't like Tim Anderson, but we probably shouldn't like chant the thing that might be called racist or be assumed as racist, that even our own manager basically said was racist without saying racist. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it was too much Bud Light, but
and
whatever.
the Yankees aren't the most progressive organization on the planet either. Let's not forget that.
Oh yeah, I mean, you mean the organization that still has a facial hair policy? And
yeah, you can't.
You know that
dreads. You got to cut them. You got to cut your dreads.
Yeah.
Can't show the facial hair.
But A-Rod and Jason Giambi can inject their asses with toxic waste. But hey,
God forbid a black man has dreads.
But hey, but you better do that shit without a beard.
You're right.
If you're gonna do steroids, you better do that shit without a beard. Right. Derek Jeter can give gift baskets to all his female acquaintances.
Yeah,
but he didn't do it. But he did it with no facial hair.
Oh, classy,
and he was classy.
Very
classy about it. So
very classy.
He dated Mariah Carey, but he was classy about it, and he did it with no facial hair. Right. So it is
no names on the back of the jerseys.
No names on the. They represent the Yankees. Damn it,
we're the New York Yankees.
The New York Yankees.
World Championships.
Listen, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure Babe Ruth probably hard a couple times. I'm just saying. I don't know.
There's a theory. There's a theory that he's half black. You know that?
I know. I've seen that Babe Ruth was half black or whatever. But hey.
Well, he didn't. Lou Gehrig did. No.
They wanted to add some few more letters to ALS. Like, wait, what? Nah, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Fuck, I shouldn't have went there.
That was horrible.
But seriously, like, it's disappointing when you hear about this stuff, man. Because it's it's like the more I'm reminded that like how much progress we've made and how far we've come in 2022, we still got to see this shit, right? Like, it's stupid. That's stupid. And listen, this is getting a lot of traction. Like, this is getting a lot of now. I mean, obviously, it's never the right thing that you want to see, and it's a shame from a Yankee fan perspective because the Yankees are having a really good season. They're defying expectations to an extent. They have the best record. At least entering this weekend, they had the best record.
I got smashed
in baseball
smashed today.
Yeah, yeah, I know. So, it's not the type of topic that you want coming out of your clubhouse, but yeah, I like that Josh Donaldson is getting killed across America. And I don't know who's defending him. Maybe some Fox News types. I don't know.
Well, I mean, tomorrow the callers from WFAN will be defending him, while the callers on ESPN Radio will be bashing him.
Yeah. Frank from Newcastle. Yeah, I don't know why Jackie is such an offensive name. Jackie Robinson, all right? These are cool. Like, it kills me. I hate doing this. Like, it's
like, man,
Christ. And again, I'm not saying everybody. I'm not saying all Yankee fans. I'm not saying but it's just it's Frank and Newberry. I don't know what Jackie's a problem.
He called himself Jackie. What do you want him to say?
Well, as a colored, he should be proud. It's like, hey, if you're a colored, why do you want to be known as Jackie Robinson, right?
I would love to hear Mike Francesa's take on this.
Yeah. Oh man, I would love to. I would love to hear that perspective. Yeah. Yes, Jackie.
Oh man,
yeah. This is Jackie and this is Tim Anderson. That's a terrible Francesa impression. We should get Sour Shoes on the line or whatever. But no, man, it's funny. It's gonna be interesting what comes out of all this. It'll die obviously on the vine eventually. It'll die down, but I'm sure we're gonna talk about it on MLB Bro, and I'll do something
Oh
on
yeah,
it this week for
you
sure.
absolutely gonna talk about that
Oh
next
yeah,
week.
we're definitely gonna talk about it on Early Bro for sure.
Yeah.
Because we did it on the Yankees fans and Guardians players a couple weeks ago. So
Yeah.
we'll definitely we'll be covering that. But yeah, let's move on to the last topic of the night. I don't know how plugged in you were to this as well, but our guy, Nick Saban, of all folks. Now listen, I want to give Nick Saban credit for a second.
Go ahead.
Not as much. No. I want to give Nick Saban. I've been critical of Nick Saban in the past. What he did to
Okay.
Miami, what he's done to college football.
Uh-huh.
But hey, there was a special feeling in my heart knowing that Nick Saban stays up at night worried about the trappings of NIL because the little guys can't compete on the high level because of NIL. I mean, how is Tulane of all schools Tulane or Stephen F. Austin football supposed to compete if they got to pay players? How are they supposed to compete? Poor the little guys, right? The little guys, how are they supposed to compete? So I thank Nick Saban for his selfless, him and his $15 million salary.
Right.
I thank him for speaking out on the issues of the world that is NIL.
Such a brave man.
It's not unemployment. It's not mass poverty in the state that he happens to be the highest paid public servant.
He's literally coach of fucking Alabama.
Right. It's not poverty, it's not unemployment, it's not opioid addictions, it's not racism or police brutality, it's not none of those things. It's NIL. That's the not concussions, not anything, just it's NIL. That is the COVID of college football for sure.
I don't know how you even have a coherent argument against NIL if you are a free market capitalist. Like, how are you free market? And then when the market plays out,
I just don't like the hypocrisy of it. First of all,
it's not just, it's more than hypocrisy, dude. It's literal, like, it's hate. Like, it's jealousy.
Hate. It's hate and jealousy, but the hypocrisy. First of all, the idea that Nick Saban stays up at night worried about whether Tulane is going to be able to afford its backup offensive lineman.
Bullshit.
It's fucking bullshit. First of all, Nick Saban has done more to ruin college football than it is to help it.
Right.
He's got 5 stars, 4 5 stars stacked up on that are backups. And people wonder, well, why is college football with no parity? People talk about the NBA. College football has no parity.
Yeah, worry about Tulane. Why don't you give one of those quarterbacks to Tulane if you're so freaking
exactly? If Nick Saban cares so much, instead of if he cares so much and he stays up at night worried about, I don't know, South Alabama State getting a player or being able to pay its players, why doesn't he say, you know what, instead of recruiting 16 5-stars, we'll only do 10 this year, guys. We want to share the wealth. No, he wants to win. And listen, I respect it, but don't sit here and tell me that basically you stay up at night and you're so concerned about NIL, and then to fucking snitch and throw Texas A&M under the bus like he's not doing the same thing. First of all, my guy, like. First of all, listen, Alabama is not exactly Harvard, number one.
No, it's not.
And we all know that players have been being paid in the Southeastern Conference for decades, decades upon decades. It's been through the Black Church, of course, but they've been getting paid forever.
Yep.
listen, you know me, I'm a huge college football fan, and I have my college football group chat. And they're all saying that Nick Saban did this on purpose because Alabama's apparently capped out how much they're willing to pay players on NIL. So Texas A&M basically is a free-for-all. And Alabama's apparently only offering $20,000 a player for NIL.
Okay.
Or at least capping their players from getting only at $20,000 or whatever.
Because you get brands. I mean,
you can brand. Yeah, exactly. But they're only basically kind of like, I don't think they're enforcing it, but they're basically like kind of enforcing like, hey,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that a college can cap their athletes.
They technically can't. Anybody who listens or watches this or whatever, correct me. The NIL thing is still very new and confusing. So I don't know if they can officially cap it, but like coaching staffs and organizations, in this case, schools, can basically say, hey, basically kind of put their foot down like, yo, man, or basically insinuate don't take more than this amount or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what allegedly some of the conspiracy theorists I know, they're basically saying like, oh no, this is all basically this Machiavellian effort by Nick Saban to put his boosters on notice, essentially saying like, yo, Texas A&M is getting these dudes, like they're whipping us in recruiting now, because Alabama had the number one class for essentially almost a decade,
forever,
plus or minus a couple years here and there, and now for the first time really ever, they have a direct competitor in Texas A&M. Now, what he's saying is, well, Texas A&M can afford to pay them however much money these players are requesting. And he's trying to do that to basically kind of like, hey, nudge his alumni, essentially, yo, pay these guys more. But the only thing I call bullshit on that is like, no, but that's not how he's painting this. He's painting it as, oh, it's an issue and we need to have guardrails. There goes that word, guardrails, against, players and because again, is every college football program going to be able to pay players? No. But this idea that there's like competitive balance in college football, there is a competitive balance in college football.
A joke.
First of all, you have a 14 playoff system, number one.
Yeah.
Right. And everybody knows that the teams with the best players always win. And that's the case. That's Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, and maybe some other team here and there every other year that gets good enough to compete at that level. Other than that, those are the 3 or 4 best teams in the country consistently over the last 5 years. You don't even have to be a college football fan to know that. Right. So there is no parity. There is no competitive balance in college football. Right. There hasn't been in a long time. So this idea that like now NIL is what's throwing out competitive balance. Well, how are these teams going to compete with the Ohio States of the world if they can't afford to pay players what Ohio State's paying them? They can't afford to compete with Ohio State anyway.
It doesn't make sense, man. I mean, a lot of kids are looking to feed their families with these deals. Like that's where my head goes, where it's like these kids getting NIL deals are kids who are coming from poor neighborhoods, who have harsher backgrounds. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them are. And you're basically just trying to take that away from them because why?
Yeah. It's a power dynamic, right? They don't like that the power dynamic is starting to shift. They're afraid. Yeah. And again, this is coming from a coach. These college coaches who are the most money hungry, tyrannical, just whatever word you want to use to describe them. I mean, these coaches will leave their teams on a lurch, Brian Kelly. Will leave their teams in a lurch the minute somebody flashes I mean, they're worse than fucking strippers. They'll fucking bounce to $1, the highest dollar, whenever they see it. Brian Kelly literally left his team in a lurch and they were still in national title contention.
That's wild.
Literally in national title contention. They were undefeated, or they had 1 loss. They still had a crazy weekend occurred last November. Notre Dame could have easily found themselves in the top 4. And Brian Kelly was like, oh, LSU is offering how much? And they just want me to basically grow a Louisiana accent out of nowhere? Okay, yeah, let's sign me up. I mean, how many coaches? I mean, every year, every coaching cycle, you hear about coaches accepting jobs literally during the season. Lincoln Riley lost Bedlam Saturday night. By Sunday morning, he was the USC head coach. But now coaches are going to tell me that they need guardrails against college players getting a car dealership sponsorship. Get the fuck out of here. Go to hell. Like, yeah, this is what bothers me. It's like, bro, college football's been a cesspool since the beginning of time. We all know it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying it's not hypocrisy. Like it is. It's hypocrisy, but it's more than that. It's power. It's
power. That's what it's the root of it. It's power.
It's evil. Like it. If I'm just being completely honest with you, it's disgusting. You know, I don't understand the NIL situation like you do. I don't really pay too much attention to college sports and those type of deals. I have an understanding of what it is. To me, though, like, you know, this whole country is built upon the fact that if you make money, if you generate money, you can receive those benefits. And we all know how much money these college football players make for their respective colleges. You know, the idea that you're against them seeing that money is absurd. And to say something like, well, you know, they get it in their education. Stop it. Like, stop it. Because
Zion Williamson, I read it. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's relevant to what you're saying. Zion Williamson at Duke. Now, this is Duke, Prince money. Zion Williamson, his 1 year at Duke, made Duke, I think, $1 billion between revenue, TV ratings, or made them almost close to $1 billion. Zion Williamson, at least if you believe it was on the up and up, I do because I'm a Duke fan, of course. But if it was on the up and up, his recruitment, he made zero out of that.
Unbelievable.
Think about that. Think about that. Think about that. Think about that.
Unreal.
And tell me NIL needs guardrails.
Yeah. And then, God forbid, to get caught like the Fab Five. You know, God forbid, someone a booster pays for like a meal for
Chris
these
Webber,
kids.
yeah. These kids, you know, it's and then the last thing that bothered me about it with the whole Nick Saban thing is that he's going to throw a needless shot at Deion and Jackson State for finally getting a 5-star, the best recruit in the country. Like the HBCU that has been killed and homogenized and destroyed for 50 years.
Right.
They finally get a win. They finally get a W on a recruiting trail, something that can change the landscape of recruiting in college football. And you want to shit on it? Like, come on, bro.
Man,
Fuck
Nick, you are lucky. You are lucky that the collective Black athletes of America from ages 14 to 17 right now are not conspiring to all go to HBCUs because they could flip this whole shit upside down. That would be phenomenal to see.
I would love it. I would fucking love it. And listen, it hurts me. I'm a Nebraska fan. I'm a Duke fan. So we're blue bloods, right? It would hurt us in our particular sport.
Into Howard fans really quick. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't like that. I just don't like yo, bro. You the idea that you care about competitive balance, it's bullshit. Like we know you don't. You don't care because you're the same guy that will get. You can have a recruiting class of 19 fucking 5-stars, and you'll go get one more 5-star just to help you win your chances of improving winning. And I don't hate you for that, but don't tell me you care about competitive balance. You don't.
Right.
You don't.
Right. You don't care about fairness.
You don't care about fairness. Right. Guardrails. Nobody says we need guardrails when coaches take, $1 more than the job they're currently at and leave their kids in a lurch. All those kids that went there, that you went to their living rooms and sold them a dream and said, "Oh, I'm going to be with you and I'm going to hold you accountable," and you want accountability from them. And then, "Oh, wait, what? Who's offering what? Oh, yeah, sign me up." Like again, Lincoln Riley lost, 11 o'clock Eastern time, Saturday night, November, whatever. And then literally the next morning, he's on a private jet, him and all of his coaches to SC. Like, and then you're telling me we need guardrails for NIL? Get the fuck out of here. This shit pisses me off. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. I just wish people were just honest. Like, yo, it's a cesspool. Let's just put it all out in the open. It's been a cesspool since the beginning of time. And that's what I like about NIL. It's like, hey, it evens the playing field a little bit. And it's honestly not even enough. It's not even enough.
But it's a start.
But it's definitely a start. But let's treat it what it is. It's a business. It's always been a business. So let's just treat it like it is.
Yeah.
We can, how many libraries and school facilities have been built on the back of collegiate athletics?
All of them.
All of them?
All of them.
All of them. I'm sorry. The debate team did not build the new library. It was the football team. I'm sorry.
Right.
So, yeah. It just bothers me. I don't know who pisses me off worse, Yankee fans or Nick Saban. Maybe both.
Nick Saban.
But hey, he's a hero. He stays up at night. He doesn't sleep at his advanced age. He's just worried that all the things that can affect college football, not concussions, not lack of parity,
right.
The social justice issues that are concerning the majority of his black players. No, not those.
No. These players can help their families now.
It's NIL. Wait, what? We can't pay under the table. We have to legally pay these
kids. These dudes money in their pockets.
Yeah, that's the issue.
So they can eat.
That's the issue. That's the issue, man. That's the issue. Oh man, it's late. We're gonna get up out of here, man. But I think we covered everything, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Celtics are in the dogfight. The Warriors are probably going back to the finals.
We'll be talking about
Yankee fans are douchey.
Warriors Celtics NBA Finals next week on any given Sunday. Calling it.
Watch us get Mavericks Warriors or Mavericks Heat. That'll be the most uninspired, uninteresting final ever. God. Who's watching that?
It'll be the third Mavericks.
It'll be the third time, but a lot less appealing this time around.
Yeah. The rivalry no one asked for.
I still think you're getting a Celtics Warriors final.
I do too. It wouldn't surprise me if the Celtics won in 6 if they won straight games, but I
Although,
digress.
I'm starting to think that it wouldn't surprise me if Miami won either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be surprised if Miami wins this series.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I still got the Celtics.
Yeah, I do. I'm there with you as well. All right, man. I'm going to get up out of here. As always, thank you guys for listening, supporting the show, all that fun stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at DManuelBrown. Josh, you can follow Josh at Josh_Rodriguez_ on Twitter. And the gram. Of course, as always, if you like what we do here, support it. Go subscribe to our podcast on all podcast platforms, whichever one you choose. Also, go drop us a review on iTunes, Apple, whatever you want to call it, Spotify, Google, whatever podcast directory you use. Leave us a review. It helps the show. It really does. It helps us get noticed. It helps us get new people listening. Obviously, go like and drop a comment on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Any given Sunday. All that, man. You guys know the deal. We've been through this plenty of times. Do that. Josh, anything else for the listeners before we get up out of here?
Nah, you covered it all, man. We're good to
Yeah,
go.
man. Make sure you go follow me again, like I said, on Twitter and on Instagram at Emmanuel Brown. Make sure if you want to hear more about the Josh Donaldson, Jackie Gate situation with Tim Anderson, check out all the stuff that we got going on at MLB Bro this week. So yeah, definitely. All right, Josh Rodriguez, Manny Brown. We are out of here. Peace.